Several new developments today into international stories we are staying on top of: the Ukraine plane crash and the crisis in Gaza. First, to what's happening in Gaza City. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is now in Cairo attempting to broker a peace deal. 7 Israeli soldiers were killed today, bringing the military's death toll to 25. Gaza Health Ministry officials now say 550 Palestinians have been killed. The conflict has sparked emotional reaction around the world, including here in West Michigan. So tonight we have team coverage. Rick Albin spoke with your lawmakers about the crisis, but we start live with Mark Thompson. He's outside the federal building in Grand Rapids, where 2 rallies are taking place right now. Mark?
Yeah, good evening, Marley. Let me set the scene for you here outside the federal building. You can see the pro-Israeli protesters. They are here on this side. And then if you move across me down the street here, you see that the pro-Palestinian side is lined up on this side here of the federal building. Now, this all stems from this latest conflict stems from the kidnapping deaths of 3 Israeli teenagers some time ago, and then apparent retaliation on the other side. But they say this goes back much further than that. The Palestinians say Israel has been restricting the movements of its people since the ceasefire of 2012. Israel says it's simply defending itself, but at least they all agree that they want the violence to end.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Emotions running high as protesters both for and against Israel's offensive in Gaza gather here at the federal building in Grand Rapids. According to Palestinian officials, shells from an Israeli tank attack hit a hospital in the Gaza Strip this morning, killing 4 people and wounding 60 others. Some of the most intense fighting thus far took place on Sunday. The latest numbers show more than 500 Palestinians have died in the conflict, as many as 70% of them civilians.
Because they hit buildings, they shell buildings with F-16 rockets. With the people inside, entire families have been bombed and they're still under the rubble.
20 Israeli deaths have been reported, a vast majority of them Israeli soldiers. In its defense, Israel reports as many as 2,000 Hamas rockets have been fired into Israeli territory.
Israel wants to live in peace and security, but every country has its limit as to how long you're going to let yourself be bombed by missiles.
And the anti-Israeli protesters that you see here say that it's going to be up to President Obama to try and put some influence on the Israeli government to put an end to this conflict. We're going to hear more from both sides coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, and we'll get reaction from the president on what he had to say earlier today during a news conference. Reporting live from downtown Grand Rapids, Mark Thompson, 24-hour News 8.
Mark, thank you. Conflict in the region is unfortunately nothing new, but with each new outbreak, lawmakers globally and right here at home again look for ways to find a resolution. 24-hour News 8 political reporter Rick Albin is here right now with reaction from your voices in Washington. Rick?
I talked with 2 lawmakers who have served for a long time in the nation's capital, and when I talked to them today, both Senator Debbie Stabenow and Congressman Fred Upton talked to me about those hostilities that are currently rocking the region and what they see as the only logical next step.
It's a terrible, terrible situation. Hamas should stop their bombing. They should take their cue from the Egyptians who called for ceasefire, and the Israelis agreed with that.
We got to get a ceasefire to start talks and to stop this mindless attacks, particularly led by Hamas. I mean, let's face it, they've got the tunnels. They've been sending in hundreds and hundreds of rockets. Israel, I think, is, at some point, obviously they had to respond, but now let's see if we can't get it stopped.
Now, traditionally, the United States has worked with other brokers in the area to bring about a ceasefire, albeit temporary. The question is now, who in the region, who globally will have the clout to bring around such an agreement this time? At the live desk, I'm Rick Albin, 24-hour News 8.